What is up everyone, and welcome to some more F1 22 My Team Career Mode. Last time out we were at the United States Grand Prix in Austin, Texas, and as you were about to see in my emails, we did have a mechanical failure. It was a control electronics failure, which means we have no choice but to take a grid penalty for the Mexican Grand Prix. There is literally nothing we can do. We have blown both control electronics. The first one in Saudi Arabia, I think it was, and then the second one in the USA. So we're taking a grid penalty, 10 places for the Mexican Grand Prix regardless of what happens. Means we'll be starting no higher than 11th unless there are other grid penalties around us, in which case we might start something like 9th or 10th. But given how good reliability in Formula 1 is these days, penalties are actually quite rare, even when you get to the back end of the season. And we have been a team that, in my opinion, has been one of the most stricken teams as far as bad luck is concerned regarding reliability. We've maxed out our durability department completely. The one upgrade that we were lacking that you might have seen there is a supplier upgrade. Something tells me that won't fix the problems that seem to exist with the engine that we have at the moment, which has given up on 5 different occasions this season. I kind of get the feeling that that Ferrari might be doing everything they can to shaft us with our engines, because I think Ferrari have had far fewer DNFs this season than we have. And I don't really know what to do with that information. We get through practice. We didn't do a representative lap time. We only did a run on the mediums, and even that was our best time was set on a fuel-saving run. And by the time that we were pushing on the race strategy program, the tyres were kind of worn out. So the fact that we didn't make top 14, I'm not too concerned. I think we should still be in the hunt for pole position, or at least, top 3, somewhere around there. This is a track I typically go pretty well at, so I'm not too concerned. But I've said this on many occasions. I'm very, very confident that next season, which as I've said already will be the final season of My Team Career Mode, we're going to be going with a different engine supplier. I might go back to Mercedes. I felt like a little bit of a change, I thought it looked like Ferrari might be quite good, so I thought we'll give it a try. They had good reliability, they had good engine power, so I was like, why not? But we were much more successful under Mercedes, and definitely did not have this many DNFs in a season. 5 already with 4 races to go. Definitely the propensity for at least one more. It's unacceptable. So anyway, we find ourselves now in qualifying. 1:16.0 to kick things off. It's not the fastest time that's been set in the session, but definitely it's encouraging to see that we seem to have got out and we're relatively on the pace to begin with. Hopefully we can find a bit more improvement over this, and indeed, as we're around the final corner on another set of soft compound tyres, fresh set, we're about 6/10 up, and it is going to be good enough for a 1:15.4, which should see us through with no real issues. P9. So we're through to Q2. No problem, and next up we're going to see if we can make it through to Q3. But first we'll see if there were any surprise results here in Q1. Albon obviously topping the timesheets, both Ferraris, both Red Bulls making it through, no problem. But Zhou Guanyu and Daniel Ricciardo are both out in Q1, and I mean Zhou Guanyu not too surprising because he's not been amazing in that Mercedes ever really. He's been there, I think this is his 3rd season with the team now, and he's never really impressed. But Ricciardo down in P20 when he's, he had a podium in Suzuka just a few races ago. Definitely a disappointing outcome for him. But anyway, we move into Q2 now. First run, used set of softs. It's a 1:16.0 again. So I'd wager to say that we can definitely get another 1:15.4 or thereabouts, maybe even better than that on our next flying lap. But actually, as we round the final corner, I make a little bit of a mistake. I go a tiny bit deep there. So we only improve by about 4.5 to 5 tenths. It's a 1:15.5 as we cross the line. And that does see us through in P7. So actually, we finished in a higher position, despite the fact that we had a worse time here in Q2. And we make it through. Albon making it through by the skin of his teeth, 0.03 of a second faster than Stroll. Meanwhile, Russell has been eliminated, so no Mercedes will be taking part in Q3. Meanwhile, both AlphaTauris have made it through, and Oscar Piastri actually made it through in P2, which is incredible for the Williams. I don't think Fittipaldi even made it through Q1, if I remember correctly, but Piastri was, looking like he might have the pace to challenge and be on the front row for the race. But we've still got another qualifying session to go, and we'll see if We'll see if we can do anything with it. Verstappen immediately does a 1:14.8, so I would wage to say pretty much any chance of me getting pole is probably going to be out the window. We do a 1:15.6 on used tyres, however, so maybe there is more of an opportunity than I was hoping for. Albon now setting the fastest time, and I mean, yeah, there are a number of things that Albon could have done to guarantee himself pole position, but the route that he chose, in my opinion, I'm not a massive fan of. You can see that is actually him up the road from me, and he slowed right the hell down right before the corner, and that meant I had to kind of take evasive action. And probably I would say I lost about 5 or 6 tenths of a second doing that, maybe. That's just a guess. But if I had to put a number on it, you know, I reckon I could have saved maybe a tenth or two through that first corner, and instead I was 3, nearly 4 tenths down. So yeah, and in the end, as we round the final corner, we only improved by just over a tenth of a second. And if I'd have had that extra 5 or 6 tenths, this could have been like a 1:14.8 as well. But instead it was a 1:15.5, which was only good enough for us to get P8, which means that unless other penalties are applied further afield, we will be starting in 18th place with that 10-second grid or 10-place grid penalty applied. If we had improved to a 1:14.9 or a 1:14.8, or even a 1:14.7 maybe, we could have been anywhere from P2 to P5. I think pole wasn't on the cards. I think Norris with that 1:14.5 looks like he just had a bit too much pace. But yeah, we could have been anywhere from 2nd to 5th, which means we would have been starting anywhere between 12th and 15th. And I think there is one car starting ahead of us who might be receiving a grid penalty as well. So that could have been converted to even maybe 11th, and then we would have been looking like we would still be able to get a decent points finish, maybe a top 5, something like that. But from 18th on the grid, if we can even get back into the points, I'll be quite satisfied with that. This is not an easy track to overtake on. It is very good at generating DRS trains, and so I think it's going to be quite tough to overtake here. And we'll just see what we are capable of doing, whether we can make our way through the field, or you know, whether this is going to be another difficult race and our rivals are really going to start closing us down in the championship. We're going to have to wait and see now as we get into the race.
It's time then for the Mexico City Grand Prix, a race which gave Honda their first ever victory back in 1965. American Richie Ginther winning from 3rd on the grid. Red Bull have been strong here in recent seasons, but can they keep that record going today? The Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez, 2.6 miles of track that allows drivers to take full advantage of their cars, reaching speeds in excess of 220 miles per hour and providing lots of opportunities for overtaking. The circuit features 17 corners, 10 to the right and the remaining 7 going to the left. Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting race. Lando Norris put in a fantastic lap yesterday, and he'll start from pole position, just edging out Alex Albon, who'll start from P2. Looking at the rest of today's grid, we have Verstappen, Gasly, Yuki Tsunoda, and Leclerc, Sainz, Oscar Piastri, Stroll, and George Russell, Mick Schumacher, Teo Pourchaire, Fernando Alonso and Magnussen, Ocon, Schwartzman, Guan Yu Zhou and Robinson. They've taken a grid penalty. Lundgaard, Latifi, Fittipaldi and Daniel Ricciardo fills the last spot on the grid. It's almost time for those 5 red lights to go out then. Let's see who can prevail today. Anthony Davidson, thanks for joining me once again for the Grand Prix. Let's talk about Robinson. What do you make of their performance so far this season?
It's been a really solid year so far. There have been some incredible standout performances, but what's really impressed me has been the consistency. With this kind of form, I'm expecting another great race today.
Well, it's good to know that Anthony Davidson's expecting a good race from me, but from 18th on the grid, I think it's going to be tricky. Yeah, we could maybe thrive on some chaos, maybe a safety car or something like that comes at an opportune time for us. But really, this race is going to be won and lost on one thing and one thing only, and that is pace. You know, if I have a superior straight line speed and superior pace through the corners and that kind of thing compared to the cars around me, then I'll just be able to cut my way through the field. But if I if I find myself stuck in a DRS train, it's just going to be over, basically. As soon as I get into that DRS train, there's going to be no way I'm going to be overtaking anyone. And so, yeah, we're going to have to see now as the lights come on and the lights go out. And you can see that we've got away blindingly well compared to Zhou Guanyu to the left of us. But Schwartzman in the second phase, we stopped closing him down after that. And indeed, Zhou has managed to make his way back ahead of us now. I thought about moving to the inside for a second there, but unfortunately, we've got a few cars on our inside there, including Latifi. And I actually get squeezed through the middle by Ricciardo, who's diving up the inside. I go over the curb, and that causes a little bit of floor damage, actually, and that is going to be not so great for my race. It's a little bit of damage, it's not too bad, but yeah, we've actually lost a couple positions off the start already. This is not what I would have wanted whatsoever. I have to try and go up to the inside there, because otherwise I was going to go into the back of Ricciardo. I weave a lot in the braking zone, and really I should have been warned for that. We go off the track momentarily there as I try and go around the outside of Schwartzman and Ricciardo, but yeah, with this floor damage we're really suffering right now. Lundgaard trying to go up our inside here. I think we just about hold on, get away without a second penalty there, or second warning there. But yeah, all in all, this has been a really poor start to the Mexican Grand Prix. I was really hoping I'd have been able to make up, 3-4 positions off the start, something like that, already be up into sort of P14 if possible, and instead we're down in P19. We've actually lost a position off the start. This is not at all what I would have wanted from this race, as Lando Norris is leading. He's only 39 points behind me in the championship, so if he wins this race with fastest lap, all of a sudden, if we don't get any points, he could be 13 points behind me in the championship. Same goes for Alex Albon as well. He's also 39 points behind me in the championship. So yeah, either of these guys, if they win the race with fastest lap and I don't get any points, they are very close to me all of a sudden. And oh, there's been a bit of contact up front. I'm not sure what's going on here. VSC has been deployed, and yeah, I guess we'll find out. I think Alonso had a bit of contact with his teammate Esteban Ocon, and that is not what Alonso will want at all. You know that he's not a big fan of that in the first place. But when his retirement is looming as well, only 3 races left now. Now that this one has come to an end, he will be absolutely livid about that, and I'm sure that he won't hold back in the interviews and whatnot, because he's got nothing to lose at this point. He's about to head out. So anyway, the VSC ends, and you can see that we have caught up to the back of Ricciardo quite significantly here. There's a big train going back from Ocon to Ricciardo, or actually to myself, to the cars behind. But yeah, we move on now to lap 3, and actually the floor has a bit more damage than it initially had after that first corner. I didn't realize at the time. I don't know where I picked it up, but yeah, there was a bit more floor damage at this point, and that's really causing us to struggle for grip through some of these corners. But amazingly, we're able to fight around the outside of Daniel Ricciardo at that double apex corner, and that gives us the inside before we get into this S's section. And that, yeah, that allows me to make my way up into P17 in this race, which I didn't ever think I'd be saying those words again. But yeah, unfortunately, this is a really disappointing Mexican Grand Prix for us so far. And as we move on to the start of lap 6, you can see that Latifi's gotten ahead of Ricciardo, and he's actually closing me down with a DRS. I'm not closing the gap to the cars in front, to Zhou and Schwartzman, and Latifi has managed to get ahead of me. And actually, I'm going to be under pressure here from Daniel Ricciardo as well. I think he looks about maybe going around my outside at turn 1. Thinks better of it. But Latifi is going to have the DRS in this next zone as well, because of how the DRS works on this track. And so he's going to pull further and further away from me, and I'm going to have very little to defend from Daniel Ricciardo here as he goes up my inside. We're going to try and cling on around the outside. He sends it at the apex, goes over the corner. I left him ample room. He just, he chose to be a bit more aggressive there. And all this time, I am losing more and more touch to the cars ahead of Latifi as well. Just about managing to stay in Latifi's DRS range. But you're going to see here, he's faster through the corners. With that floor damage, he is faster than me through the corners, and so I cannot stick to the back of him whatsoever. So even though I'm in the only good position in a DRS train, because I am the one that has the opportunity to potentially overtake, I can't get ahead of him because I can't get close enough to him. I feasibly will not be close enough to him by the time that we start on the long straight. You can see I lost about 4/10 to him over the course of the lap after the DRS zones. And so yeah, there was just nothing I could do at this point. All I could do was wait out until the pit stop phase. I thought about maybe pitting early and trying to do an undercut or something like that. But in the end, I decided I would just stay out until the pit stop phase rolls around. And now you can see on lap 12, I'm just praying he's not coming in. And indeed, he isn't. But there is a yellow flag out, so maybe there could be some kind of safety car or something like that. It looks like it might be. I'm not sure, but yeah, the Mercedes of Zhou Guanyu has retired from the Grand Prix. So we'll see what happens with him in a minute as we come into the pits. We're going to be putting on a set of medium compound tyres to the end. And yeah, we actually have managed to gap Ricciardo a little bit because he got held up in the pit stop phase. I think maybe by Fittipaldi, who was coming in at a similar time to him. But yeah, this is Zhou Guanyu at about the same time that we were coming into the pits. You can see that he is very close with the Haas there of Schwartzman, but pulling off the track, and that is going to be race over for him. And yeah, he is another driver who has been absolutely shafted by the reliability of his car over the course of the years. I feel like he's always breaking down. I've never seen a driver break down quite as much as his car seems to break down. But anyway, we come out of the pits and you can see that the undercut has worked, and we are comfortably ahead of Nicholas Latifi, and now I just have to try and keep the gap constant and over 1 second if possible, otherwise he's going to close me straight down. And you can see that now as we move on to lap 17, that is pretty much what happened, as we are now closing down Robert Schwartzman, and we're actually going to size up a move up the inside there. That was a bit of a Hail Mary there, really. But yeah, we make the move stick, and we're up into P16 now. So yeah, I guess things aren't going so bad right now, but as we move on to the end of lap 18 and we look to the start of lap 19, there are a few more cars that are going to be coming into the pits. A few people who started on medium tyres are now fitting the hard tyres to the end, and that includes Teo Pourchaire and Kevin Magnussen, another couple of drivers who I have managed to get an undercut on by staying out a little bit longer. And all of a sudden things aren't looking too terrible. We've moved up into P13. The problem is, after this, I had no pace whatsoever. I could not catch the cars in front at a pace that I was happy with. You know, I had closed them down a little bit, maybe by a couple seconds over the course of about 10 laps. But yeah, there was nothing. There was very little in the way of pace catching these guys, and yeah, that's incredibly disappointing because I don't know. It's just really annoying to think that we're not going to score any points in this race. I think Norris is very comfortably going to win this one. And yeah, we are going to really have to try and fight back in these last 3 races if we want to hold on to this. You know, we're no longer going to be outside of that DNF range anymore. So yeah, we need to have a string of good results to end things, because I think this is probably going to be where I'm finishing this race. As we move on now to lap 32, and you can see, I think actually some rain is not too far out. But there's a chance I might not see it, because apparently we have another problem. This would be absolutely unfounded. We retired from the previous Grand Prix. We've retired from 5 Grand Prix this year, and we have had a back-to-back DNF in the first 2 races of the season as well. If we have another back-to-back DNF this year to mark our 6th DNF of the season, I am going to be furious. This is race number 19. That means that 1 in 3 races our car is breaking down. That would be absolutely ridiculous. But that is what has happened as our gearbox gives out. And yeah, that is quite bad for 2 reasons. One, because obviously it means that we don't finish the race, which means any chance that we may have had of maybe thriving on some very late race chaos to score points is over. But also, it's a gearbox failure, and we're on our last gearbox. We've got one that can probably do 1 more race, but we're going to have to take penalties in either Portugal or Brazil. That's a choice that we have to make now, is whether we want to take the penalty in Portugal and try and cut our way through the field there, or whether we think we can do it in Brazil. But either way, that's really bad for the championship.
It makes this event a brutal one for these Formula One cars, but this team have done a fantastic job to make it to the checkered flag and take a well-earned victory today. So, Anthony, What made the difference out there today?
I feel like consistency was probably the key today. There's being quick, and then there's being quick lap after lap after lap. If you can do that, you can capitalise on other people's errors without making many of your own. And that's an approach that can push you a long way up the field.
As the winners make their way up to the podium, one can only imagine the celebrations that will take place at McLaren tonight. Congratulations to everyone on the team, securing the win and proving that they're a force to be reckoned with out on the track.
So Lando Norris takes the win. It's Verstappen in second, then Albon actually got beaten down into third in the end. So yeah, Norris will move to, I think, 14 or 13 points behind me in the championship. Albon will only be 20 or something points behind me as well. And suddenly, with those two DNFs, this championship has been blown wide open.
And after this round of the World Championship, here's how things look in the drivers' table. Well, that lead at the top has somewhat shrunk today. Let's focus on the driver of the day, Anthony Davidson. Who do you pick?
Daniel Ricciardo would be my driver of the day. He just outright refused to make any mistakes. Perfect driving.
It's time to check out the constructors' standings. No change in the top spot then, but with today's points, their hold on that lead is getting weaker. Meanwhile, a strong weekend from Red Bull this time out, and they improve their position in the championship. After an event like that, who knows what the sport has in store for us next time out? Be sure to join us once again as we continue to bring you all the excitement of Formula One.
Well, I would wage to say that this Constructors' Championship, no matter which way you slice it, I think we've won it. Unless we both DNF from every race going forward, which could happen, but probably won't. I think we've wrapped it up. But the Drivers' Championship, I think any one of me, Albon and Norris can still win it. With 3 races to go, the question really is up in the air. So, yeah, next up is Portugal, and we'll have to see what we can do there. But that is going to be it for this video. If you enjoyed, please make sure you like and subscribe. And hopefully, I will see you in the next one.